My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Ah! aka Scream 2. And this review will have spoilers, so there's your warning. But this is one of those really weird movies where my opinion changes ever so slightly every time I watch it. So, the first time, I loved it. The second time, I liked it. The third time, I loved it. The fourth time, I liked it. The fifth time, which was last night's viewing, I loved it once again. I don't know why I keep going back and forth on this movie, but that just so happens to be the case. But I do think this is a great sequel, so let's begin by talking about the cast. And Neve Campbell continues to do a great job here. She carries the movie incredibly well, and I just love how much humanity she brings to her character. She's just very easy to root for. But then we've got David Arquette, who I think does a better job here. Yes, he's funny and goofy, but you also take him a bit more seriously here, and he brings real humanity and heart to his character, and he does a fantastic job. But my favorite performance of this movie is Courtney Cox because she has a bit more to do. Her character arc here is incredibly well done, and I love how she becomes more sympathetic here. And she just brought this character to life perfectly. We then got Jerry O'Connell, who is very good here because I'll talk about this more later on, but you don't know if you can ever fully trust him. And then when it turns out you could, and he's just a good guy with a big heart, his story here is pretty tragic, and I thought he did a real good job. Jamie Kennedy is as funny and as clever as ever here as Randy. I really do like this character. Liev Schreiber has much more to do in this movie, and I just like how he's a wild card. He's the obvious red herring, and he's a little bit psychotic at times, but you kind of get it. And other times, he just seems like a good guy, and I kind of like this back and forth you get with this character. Elise Neal is a very entertaining side character as well. Laurie Metcalf is very over the top and campy here in the best way possible. Timothy Olyphant is the weak link. His character just never really stands out to me, and even though I do think he's good in the climax, getting to that point, he's very bland. Sarah Michelle Gellar plays Cece, and I thought she did a good job in her minimal screen time. And Omar Epps and Jada Pinkett Smith play the couple in the beginning of this movie, and they do a real good job. So the cast for this movie delivers yet again. And I love how this sequel expands upon the original in its own meta way. Because in the first movie, you're like, well, Billy seems like an obvious suspect, and the movie plays around with your expectations of that. I love how this movie kinda does that again, but in a way that's very self-aware. Are they going to go a more original route, or are they just going to play the same card again? And it's just so well done. I also do love how this movie talks about the rules of a sequel. That one conversation between Dewey and Randy is a real highlight here, and the meta aspect just allows this franchise to feel like its own thing. It makes this movie feel fresh and new, and I just like how self-aware it is. But I also do like how this movie shows how trauma can shape us. Sydney has trust issues. She's unsure if she can trust her boyfriend or anybody else. And you get it. It's a proper progression of this character, and I also do like how this movie explores the nature of violence. Like, does violent movies make violent people? Do people just use that as an excuse? Are there reasons to justify violent acts? Or is it at the end of the day psychos being psychotic? And I do love how that really comes into play in the climax of this movie, which, by the way, I find the climax here to be very satisfying. I do love the college setting of this movie as well. You know, once again, it's a proper progression. You go from high school to college, just a nice through line throughout this franchise, and it definitely has its tense moments. I actually do find the opening to this movie to be very underrated because you've got Stab playing in the background, which recreates the opening of the first movie. So it's building some tension there, it's building some uncertainty there, but then you've got this theater where everybody is just acting all chaotic and everybody is dressed up like Ghostface, so you're constantly on edge just waiting for something to happen, and I think it's really well done. And when Jada Pinkett Smith character gets killed, it's effective. Like when she's in front of the theater and everybody removes their mask and she dies, you're just starting this movie off with a real mean punch. I also do like the CC attack. I think that scene builds tension incredibly well. I love the scene where Dewey and Gail and Randy are trying to find Ghostface in the daytime. Just how they keep going up to people's cell phones, and you know, that whole scene is kind of funny. It's really entertaining, but it's also quite intense. But I actually think one of the best scales of the franchise is when Gail and Dewey are watching the tapes in the college room, and then the TV starts playing clips that aren't theirs, and then the TV shows them at that very moment, and they look up and Ghostface is there. That is a great scale, and I do love the way that scene escalates with Gail and Dewey hiding from Ghostface, and when Dewey almost gets killed, it has real emotional weight. That whole scene is just a masterclass, and then it's followed up immediately by the cop car getting taken over by Ghostface, and they get into a crash, and Sydney has to crawl past him. Oh man, like that scene just gets me on edge every single time because you're just thinking to yourself, is he going to wake up? Is he not? When is he going to wake up? And you're just on edge. Yeah, it's really well done. And like I said, I like the climax to this movie. I do love it when Sid is trying to escape and all the play pieces come down on the stage. Just really well done. And I do think this movie has funny moments. Like, Wes Craven just balanced the tone for this movie, for these movies, so incredibly well, and I really do think he does an incredible job. But this one I do think is a little bit too long at 2 hours. I feel like you could have trimmed out 10, maybe 15 minutes because it does feel dry at times. And shoot, what's his name? I'm drawing a blank. Timothy Oliphant's character, Mickey. I really don't care for this character. I really wish he was a better villain, but I do like Billy's mom being one of the villain too, so you get a personal angle as well. But I think the biggest issue with this movie is actually Randy's take on The Empire Strikes Back not being a sequel because it was planned out. That doesn't mean it's not a sequel. Like, what an utter dog shit take. Like, this guy's supposed to be smart, but what are we doing here? So, anyways, I feel like it's a little dry at times, but I still love this movie. I think it's funny, it's tense, it's meta and clever, and it has things to say on the nature of violence and trying to move ahead from a traumatic experience, and the cast all does a great job. It's really well directed. I think it expands upon the original in proper ways. I think it's a great sequel, so I'm giving Scream 2 an 8 out of 10. Wes Craven, I really miss that man. But Scream 2, have you seen it? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos soon. And Gavin out.